Father Greg Boyle is a Jesuit priest in Los Angeles. He's famous for his gang intervention programs. He heads Homeboy Industries, which employs former gang members in a constellation of businesses. This is not work of helping, he says, but rather of finding kinship. Father Greg got involved in gang ministry when he was assigned to the Dolores Mission on the poorest parishes in the city, right in the heart of gang violence. What he learned about gangs is that it's about a lethal absence of hope. It's about kids who can't imagine a future for themselves. It's about kids who weren't seeking anything when they joined a gang. They're always fleeing something. Father Greg remembers walking in the projects late at night a while ago, and there was this kid, Mario, sitting by himself, 16 years old, just sitting on his little stoop in front of the crummy old projects. So I see him, and I greet him. "Hey, how you doing?" And I sit down next to him. And he goes, "It's funny that you should show up right now." And I say, "Why?" "Well, I was just sitting here praying, and I said, 'God, show me a sign that you're as great as I think you are.' And then you showed up." In one of his spiritual exercises, St. Ignatius talked about being in companionship with Jesus. It's not about saluting a set of beliefs. It's about walking with Jesus and being a companion, standing in the lowly place with the easily despised and the readily left out, and with the demonized, so that the demonizing will stop, and with the disposable, so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. Moses knew what it was like to stand in that place. He had gone up the mountain to receive the 10 Commandments. The commandments, you remember, were written on 2 stone tablets by the finger of God. But Moses was on the mountain for such a long time that the children of Israel decided that he wasn't coming back, and they thought they might need a new God, so they fashioned a golden calf that they were worshiping. And Moses came down from the mountain, and he caught the people in the very act of committing adultery. Moses threw the stone tablets down, and they shattered. And a couple of days later, Moses went back up the mountain to get a second set of stone tablets. And it was in between the first and the second writing that Yahweh passed before Moses, and he called out, "Yahweh, Yahweh, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness, keeping steadfast love for the 1000th generation, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, yet by no means clearing the guilty, but visiting the iniquity of the parents upon the children and the children's children to the 3rd and 4th generation." The scribes and Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the very act of committing adultery, and they made her stand there in front of all the people. They are holding her in her sin. God is the one who forgives thousands, but we don't let go. We hold on, punishing the parents' fault and the children and the grandchildren to the 3rd and 4th generation. The opposite of holding in sin is forgiving for life. We're invited to step into a new future. Do not remember the former things, Isaiah calls, or consider the things of old. I'm about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Paul has this same vision as he reminds the church at Philippi, press on to make it my own, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead. Every human being is poised on the edge of a future that promises to be more aligned with the deepest truths about ourselves. And other people are called to help us toward this new future, to forgive us. The for before the verb give is an intensive. It signifies a complete and total giving into the future that is emerging. We're not identified with the past, but with the free future that we are struggling toward. In this vision, the most profound word of forgiveness is the word Jesus speaks to the woman: go. Father Greg Boyle tells another true story that actually happened. He said one day, Diane Keaton showed up for lunch at a homegirl cafe. And she's there with a regular guy who's there once a week, and her waitress is Glenda. And Glenda is a homegirl. Been there, done that, tattooed, felon, parolee. She doesn't know who Diane Keaton is. And so she's taking her order, and Diane Keaton says, well, what do you recommend? And Glenda rattles off the 3 plates that she really likes, and Diane Keaton says, oh, I'll have that second one. That sounds good. And then it was suddenly at that moment that something dawns on Glenda. And she looks at Diane Keaton, and she goes, wait a minute. I feel like I know you. Like maybe we've met somewhere. And Diane Keaton decides to sort of deflect it humbly and say, oh gosh, I don't know, I suppose I have one of those faces that people think they've seen before. And then Glenda goes, no, oh, now I know, we were locked up together. In the end, it's about kinship. It's about Oscar-winning actress, attitudinal waitress, that you may be one. That's the whole thing. That God has created this otherness that you might bump into each other and find that you're homies, that you were locked up together.